Welcome back for another exciting breakdown. UFC 305 is this weekend, and we're going to cover every single fight on the card. I will give you a pick and a prediction for every single fight, even those that I'm not super confident in. But we're going to give you a pick either way. I'll see you guys in that first fight. Don't forget to check out the links in the description. There's some really cool stuff down there that I think you guys are going to enjoy. Otherwise, I'll see you there in the first flyweights are set to kick off the night. We have the debuting Stewart Nicoll taking on Jesus Aguilar. Aguilar is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He had that close decision with Mendonça that a lot of people thought he should have lost, but he did get the nod. He's still in the UFC. Mendonça is not. Nicoll 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Nicoll is 8-0 overall, so he's undefeated on the career. He is, like I said, making his debut. So there's a lot of stuff that comes along with that might kind of influence things a little bit. And you got to take that into account when you're breaking down the fight. But first, we're going to start with the Aguilar side. He's a good wrestler. He's got good takedown volume, continues to just shoot those pretty much entirely. That's his game plan, is get the takedowns, unless he's fighting Shannon Ross. Good scrambles, good sweeping ability, but he's a guillotine specialist. Now, I don't think guillotines are the best move to go for. I feel like they're very low percentage, but he seems to be able to finish them, and so I can't really say that he doesn't know what he's doing because it works for him. So there we go. In the striking department, decent, good forward pressure. He throws a lot of big power shots, mostly to set up the takedowns. But he is a bit wild, and he's wide open to counters on the feet. Now, on the other side, he's fighting another grappler. This guy is a solid grappler, is Nicoll. He's changed takedowns, good mat returns. So, whether he's getting the takedown initially or if he gets it, you bounce right back up. He's pulling you right back down. He does a good job there. He's very good with the control, and he uses the leg lace effectively. So he ties up the legs with his legs and uses that for control, and then starts to look for his ground and pound. And he does have pretty good ground and pound volume. Oftentimes from this is when he's able to take the back, and from there he's able to do a lot of work, because what happens is he's got them tied up and he starts landing the ground and pound shots. And if they're trying to sit up to, posture to, push him back down and stuff like that, they run into ground and pound strikes. So what do they do to stop that? Well, the only way to really stop it is to turn over and give up your back, in which he takes the back. So that's what happens there. Decent striking. His leg kicks are pretty good. That's basically it. He uses his strikes mostly to close distance for the grappling. But he's wide open to shots down the middle, and that is a problem for him. Everything that comes straight through is landing on his face. I think it's because he has his hands out here a lot of the time, and it might be because he wants to have a nice clear vision at the hips so he can get that takedown, but he does get hit up the middle a lot, and that is a problem for him. Ultimately, I struggle with this. When I initially saw the debuting fighter as a massive favorite, my knee-jerk was to take Aguilar. I know he's not the best fighter on the UFC roster, but he's been here, he's done that, and he's gotten some wins at the UFC level. And that's more than we could say for Stewart Nicoll at this point. Now, it's not to say he can't win at the UFC level, but it is to say that he hasn't done it yet. Ultimately, I think I'm going to take the hometown guy, the guy who is not traveling across the world. He is making his debut. It's a big red flag. From a betting perspective, it's, of course, dog or pass, but I do think Nicoll's getting it done, so I'm going to pass, and I'm going to take Stewart Nicoll in this one, but way less confident than that line, and it is in fact wide. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I do appreciate it, and I will see you guys in the next matchup here. We have a couple of guys looking to really build some momentum, because both of them have had some struggles as of late. We have Kenan taking on Rick Glenn. This is a welterweight matchup. Now, Rick Glenn, 1-3 and a draw in his last 5 fights, 2-3 for Kenan. So neither guy's really got that momentum on their side. Somebody can get that one more step closer to that in this matchup. Rick Glenn, he's had quite the career to him, right? 22-8-2, so the guy's been around for a while. Similar on the Kenan side, 21-8. So both of these guys, tons of experience, decent amount of experience at the UFC level even. So for Rick Glenn, though, we're going to break down the skills that he has at this point in his career. He's a good striker. He's got good forward pressure. He's got good volume, and he has decent power. But the problem is his durability doesn't seem to be quite what it used to be. He has been knocked out quite a bit lately, and that is a problem for him. Decent grappling as well. He can mix in takedowns well, and I think that is something that he needs to do in this matchup, because that is a weakness on the Song side. I'll break that down in a moment, and I think he's going to have the cardio to keep doing that for 3 rounds if he can start getting those takedowns early and often. I think he can keep that pace up and keep that ability going to win this fight. Now, for Kenan, dude's a good striker. Dude's got power. He's accurate in his striking. He's got good volume, and his lead hook is his best weapon, and it's absolutely nasty. And if you look back, Rick Glenn gets hit with a lot of lead hooks and gets knocked out. So you got to take that into account. His striking defense isn't very good, but he does seem to be durable enough that he's able to kind of take those shots. For how long will that last? I don't know, but I don't know that this will be the fight where it fades. His takedown defense isn't the best. Now, he does work to get back to his feet, but if Rick Glenn comes out and looks for takedowns early and often, he can get those takedowns. And I think if if Song has to keep working back to his feet, it's going to be Ricky Glenn that's going to be still hanging in there in the third round and not so much Kenan Song. However, my pick for this is Kenan Song. Now, what I want you guys to notice, I challenge you to do this. Take a look at Kenan Song's record and look at the people he's beaten in the UFC. Go back through and look at who he's beaten. It makes me not super confident to pick him as a favorite. Song is the type of guy I like to back as an underdog, because he's got that power. Maybe you play the 3.5 on him or whatever, but it's tough to back this guy as a favorite just knowing the level that he's beaten. Now, he's lost to some really good talent, but where does he fall? Now, Ricky Glenn is going to be about that middle-of-the-road guy between the guys that Song's beaten and below the guys that he's lost to. So this is gonna really tell us where Song is at. So I do like that. This matchup scares me. Just be wary, all right, guys? I told you all to be wary last weekend when everybody's favorite darling was Charalampos Gregorio, and I said we just don't know enough about either of these guys. All we know is that they both continue to lose at the UFC level. So why is everybody so confident in Gregorio? Because they've seen Kazama get knocked out by who? Garrett Armfield and Reina Nakamura, two guys that are both pretty darn good in the division. And then we saw Charalampos Gregorio get run through by Chad and Helliger. And you guys are just thinking this guy's the greatest. I tried to tell you guys. So this could be a matchup like that. Now, I'm not saying that. I don't think that Kenan Song is the Charalampos this week. But just use caution. It's a trickier fight than it looks to be on paper. When you look at just the odds and you look at, Rick Glenn's been knocked out quite a bit lately, just be cautious about this matchup, all right? That's all I got to tell you. I'll see you guys in the next fight. Let me know who you're picking in the comments. 155-pound matchup here. Tom Nolan takes on Alex Reyes, and this is an interesting spot because Alex Reyes, he's 3-2 in his last 5 fights, but realistically, we've seen one fight in the 2020s, right? It's been a long time since this guy has competed actively, and that fight in the 2020s that we saw not too long ago, he got knocked out pretty quick. So you can disregard most things, and that's why this is so short here, because I don't really know what is still going to be applicable for Alex Reyes. He's fighting Tom Nolan, young up-and-coming guy, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, only 1 loss on the career, got caught cold early on in the fight. Happens to some people early on. It's not earlier in their career. It's not a make or break for him. I do think Tom Nolan still has skills. He's only 24 years old. He's fighting the 37-year-old Alex Reyes. This is interesting because from what I am going to assume Alex Reyes still has, he's got solid grappling, good takedowns, good back-taking ability. I believe he's still a good striker. I think he's got power, and he'll come forward. The problem is we know his durability is bad. We don't really know a ton else because it's been so stinking long. Now, on the other side, what do we know about Tom Nolan? We know he's a good striker. We know he uses his size really well. He's got good volume. The knees up the middle, because he's so tall, those things get to your chin really easily, and he has good combinations as well. In the grappling department, we know that he uses his length well. He has those choking arms, right? Those long, slender, skinny arms. They can slip right under your chin really easy, especially once you get sweaty. I know they always say grappling's harder when you get sweaty. Yes, unless you're trying to slip your arm under someone's chin. He's got those choking arms for that. He's got good ground and pound as well, and he's got pretty good submission defense. I've seen this guy fight out of submissions where he looks like he's in this thing deep, and somehow he's able to stay calm, fight the hands, or fight whatever he's got to do, and then get out. So Tom Nolan does a pretty good job in that. Yeah, what do you expect? I'm going to take the guy that's like minus 1,500 in Tom Nolan, but like we don't know much about Alex Reyes at this point. What are you going to do? Bet, $1,500 on Tom Nolan to win $100? I don't think so. Maybe you will. If you do, I hope you win. But yeah, so Tom Nolan's a pick. Let me know what you guys have. Looking at a featherweight matchup next between Jack Jenkins and Herbert Burns. Now, Herbert Burns, you might remember, he's 2-3 in his last 5, but he's coming off of a couple of performances where his cardio just has not been so beneficial for him. For Jack Jenkins, he's 4-1 in his last 5. That one loss, he actually snapped his arm in 2, trying to stop himself from being thrown. Posted out with his arm. Not the best idea. He probably knew that. He probably looked back on that and said, well, that was a bonehead thing to do. Sometimes in the moment you do something stupid, you learn how to not fall, catch yourself with just your arm like that because it's a good way to break it. That's what happened to him. But that's why we learn break falls, right, guys? But so Jack Jenkins is coming off the broken arm. He didn't look too bad in that fight until then, but here we are. See how he holds up after that. See if he's a little tentative. We don't know. When we look at Herbert Burns, though, this guy's skill set in the grappling, he has it. He's a solid grappler with a very large toolbox. This guy could absolutely submit just about anybody in a very short grappling match. He's got the ability to attack takedowns immediately, just get to the takedowns, get them going early, and he will attack submissions as fast as he can. The reason why is probably because he doesn't have the cardio to continue on after that first round. He's got a fast starting style. My goodness, I'm having trouble talking. He's a fast starting style, but he's got bad cardio. So he doesn't really keep that up after that first round, or sometimes even the end of the first round, he's already starting to tire out. Decent striking as well, but it's mostly just power shots and like knees and stuff because he knows that he wants to get the takedown, but sometimes you got to strike in order to get to that because every fight starts on the feet, as you guys are well aware. For Jack Jenkins, he's a slow starter. Now, it'll be interesting because this is a fight where he might end up having to be a fast starter just because he doesn't have another option. But typically, he has been a slow starter at this level. He does have good striking, very heavy leg kicks. I could see that being a problem for Burns. He's had knee troubles in the past. Those heavy leg kicks are there. Nice jab as well, sticks it right down the middle. Can use it for range, but also can use it, just to keep his opponents at bay, keep that distance. He will work the body, and he can fight out of either stance. Now, body work is going to be important against a guy that has bad cardio, because you start hitting the guy in the stomach, guess what? That cardio fades really fast. So, with the wrestling, this is a problem for Jack Jenkins, because he's gone to his wrestling quite a bit at the UFC level, and he mixes in the takedowns well, and he's got decent top pressure. But the problem is, if he starts going for takedowns against Herbert Burns, I don't think that's a good idea. Hopefully Jack Jenkins has a good game plan in this one because the guy's like a minus 850 favorite last I saw. Decent takedown defense as well. He's going to be hard to take down when it's going to be hard for Herbert Burns to take down Jack Jenkins when Jack Jenkins knows that the thing that Herbert Burns is going to be doing is shooting takedowns almost exclusively at the beginning of the fight. So there is that to be said as well. Ultimately, you got to go with Jenkins. He is the guy that has the most upside in this fight. He can continue to fight for 15 minutes. But fight gets to the ground early, Herbert Burns is very live for the finish, and just keep that in mind when you're putting all your parlays together and all that stuff. But we're taking Jack Jenkins. I do think he probably wins this fight at a pretty high clip. The line might be wide, but it's also probably justified. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Ladies at the flyweight division, where Casey O'Neill takes on Luana Santos. This is a good one because it is short notice. However, the short notice replacement matchup that we have here is actually probably better than the original matchup. It was originally Teresa Bleda taking on Casey O'Neill. Don't get me wrong, I think that'd be a fun fight. I think I like this one just a little bit better. Luana Santos is riding a wave of momentum. She's 5-0 in her last 5 fights. She's taking on the returning Casey O'Neill, who's the kind of the hometown girl, kind of there, kind of not. Like she's, 3-2 in her last 5. Like she is from there, but also she is originally not from there, if from my understanding, like Scottish or something like that. So whatever, she is the hometown, much like Adesanya. We'll find out later where he is from around that area of the world, but not originally. Either way, that sounded dumb. Casey O'Neill's 3-2 in her last 5. That's what you want to know. She's coming off a couple of injuries as well, so that is going to be an interesting thing to note. Luana Santos, let's start on her side. She is the short notice replacement in this one, but not super short notice. She's had plenty of time. Good grappler, aggressive with the takedowns. Now this is a judo background that she has, so the throws are more of the style of takedown she wants, but she can get into the body lock and work trips or work traditional kind of, not really American wrestling style takedowns often, but she will work, your body lock, just pull down style of takedowns, things like that. But the throws are where it's at for her. Very good top control. She's attacking submissions. She's extremely aggressive there. Decent striking. It's really unpolished. It is really unpolished, and I feel bad even saying decent, but there is a ton of power and there's a lot of volume. She just wings wild overhands, and it doesn't look very good technically. Like if she was doing that to a heavy bag, you'd be like, this lady doesn't know what she's doing. But in a fight, it's effective because what she can do with this is close the distance, provide some sort of threat, and then from that threat, she's able to land, either heavy enough to hurt you or make you cover up enough that she can get a hold of you and toss you. So that is the goal of it. It doesn't look great, but it is effective for what she's doing. That's why she got the decent rating. Casey O'Neill, decent grappling. Actually, I'd say good grappling. She just has decent takedowns. But the reason I only say they're decent is because she will get these takedowns, but I feel like she has to muscle these takedowns quite a bit. And you can only do that for so long. You're going to fight somebody that has good takedown defense, or you're going to fight people that are just as strong as you, or just a higher level competition, right? So she does have to muscle a lot of her takedowns, and that's not what you want. She does have good top control, and she's got decent sweeps if she does get stuck on her back. Here's the deal. Whoever gets on top is going to probably win the round, each round when that comes out. So that's going to be something we're going to have to look forward to is, okay, who's got on top? And something that might be worth doing, watch the live line, First lady to get a takedown and secure that for more than a couple seconds, drop that bet right there. That's how I think it goes. First one to get a takedown is going to start really controlling this fight. Decent striking for Casey O'Neill. The volume is incredible. She has very good volume. She's got very good just 1-2s down the middle, and she will throw them a lot. She's probably going to outland most opponents on the feet just with volume. It doesn't mean she's got a ton of power or anything like that. The power is going to be on the Santos side, but O'Neill's got probably the edge in volume, even though both of them do have pretty good output. She's extremely aggressive, or at least she was prior to these injuries. We'll find out how she is coming back. I'm going to side with Santos, though. I think what happens is Casey O'Neill's going to get a little too aggressive. And something about judo is if someone is very aggressive and you decide to throw them, it makes that throw a little bit easier. So I do think Luana Santos is going to be able to get the takedowns early. I think she's going to be able to toss Miss O'Neill on her noggin, and she's going to be in trouble. So Luana Santos is the pick. Let me know what you guys have in the comments below, and I will see you next. Josh Culibao takes on Ricardo Ramos. Ramos is 2-3 in his last 5. Culibao 3-2 in his last 5. Interesting matchup because you don't really know what you're going to get out of a guy like Ramos, right? His game plan is just vastly different in each fight. Sometimes he wants to come out there and strike. Sometimes he wants to go out there and grapple, and he just does weird things in fights. Now, I understand a lot of people adjust their game plan based on the opponent, but it doesn't sound like he does that. It sounds like he just grabs out of a grab bag and is like, what we're doing tonight, guys. He does have skills in both areas, but he doesn't always use them at the right times. Like grappling with Julian Erosa was a bad idea. That's my boy Juicy J, so bad idea. But for Ramos, in this one here, he's a good striker. He's got a very diverse attack, and he spins a lot, which is a problem. But it is also a good thing because he can land these big, powerful shots. He hits pretty hard. He's dangerous on the feet. But that's not going to be his best path here. He wants to get this fight to the mat if he's going to go out with the proper game plan, or the one that you would imagine he should use, because he does have good grappling as well. He's got good timing on his takedowns. He's incredibly good at taking the back of his opponents and starting to work from there. The problem is if he gets on the bottom, he's willing to work from there and get stuck on the bottom and starts working from his back. I do think if he comes out with a grappling heavy style in this matchup, I think that's going to be his most likely path to victory. On the other side, for Joshua Culibao, he's going to want to keep this on the feet, and he's done pretty good at that in his career thus far. He's a good striker with plenty of power. He's got darn good leg kicks. He can fight out of either stance. His defense is a little suspect, which means that he could get hit by some of this wild stuff that Almarsh is throwing. But he does have decent grappling in his own right. His ground and pound is very heavy, and he does have pretty good takedown defense. For Culibao, he wants to keep this on the feet, keep things tight, keep that defense up because he doesn't want to get caught with something wild, spinning elbows, spinning heel kicks, something like that. You get caught with that, you're going down. I don't care how good your chin is. But if he can mind his P's and Q's and keep this on the feet, Culibao should be able to be the better fighter in this. Technically speaking, from the striking, I think he's going to have the better timing, the better rhythm, and I think he's going to be able to land the better shots over the course of 15 minutes. Now, if we get to a grappling scenario and Ramos is the one to get the takedowns, I don't think that goes well for him. But something I don't think that goes well for Culibao, but something I do think can go well for Culibao is if he changes the game plan. And he comes out there with a striking stance, starts throwing hands a little bit, and then mixes in a takedown about halfway through the round. Like I said, Ramos will work from the bottom. If you can survive the 2.5 minutes for the end of the round on top and use top control, which Culibao can do, he does have the ability to do that. I think that's how his path to victory is, to mitigate the chance of getting caught with something big. Will he do that? I don't know. I'm still going to take Culibao to get the win because I can't trust Ramos at this point. But I think if he follows a game plan like that, I think that's going to be his best path to victory here. Let me know if you guys agree with me. If you guys think that makes sense, or if you think I'm just being stupid, I'd love to hear from you. See you guys in the comments, and see you Heavyweights next. Junior Tafa takes on Valter Walker. I was kind of hoping this fight would fall off. It has not, so we have to break it down. The reason I said that is because this is a hard one to call, but not because of the reasons that it typically is a hard one to call. It's just I don't typically want to pick either of these guys. But Valter Walker, 4-1 in his last 5, but that last fight, that loss, ooh, it was rough. 3-2 in the last 5 for Tafa. Also hasn't looked great. Walker does have a significant height and reach advantage, though. He's 6'6" with an 81-inch reach, as opposed to 6'3" with a 72-inch reach. That is absurd. Unfortunately for Walker, on the standing side of things and from the feet, he doesn't know how to use this reach whatsoever because he can't strike to save his life. He has very poor striking. He has horrible striking defense. He just seems uncoordinated on the feet, but he does have a decent step-in knee. I'll give him that. But other than that, horrible on the feet. So that's okay, because this isn't going to be a big deal on the feet to this if he can't do anything with it. But The opposite is true on the other side. And we're doing this a little different on this breakdown, guys. Tafa's got no takedown defense, and he's probably going to get stuck on the mat once he gets there. So that's a problem. Because both of these guys are good at the thing that the other guy is bad at. But the thing that the guy's bad at, they're both just abysmal in those areas. So that's a problem. So for Walker, we're gonna go over his strengths, right? He's a good wrestler. He's got good takedowns. And something that's really cool is he can shoot takedowns even when he's exhausted. Now I understand you're like, well, yeah, everybody can shoot takedowns when they're exhausted. They're just not as good. I mean, he still like changes levels and actually goes for the takedown, which is something you don't see. A lot of times you see people just bend over and reach down for the legs, hoping for the best. He still will actually change levels and shoot. So I'll give him credit where credit's due. He does do very good at that. Good top pressure. He's a bit of a grinder, which, what does that mean? Well, he's not really looking to cause a ton of damage. He's looking to stay there. And he will only start using his ground and pound once the position is completely secure. Thankfully for Walker in this one, though, Tafa's not really a big threat to get back to his feet in most cases, especially when he's going to be the smaller guy. So he might be able to secure that position pretty easily. I don't know. It's going to be hard for me to see Tafa getting back up once he's taken down. But on the other side, Tafa, on the feet, where every fight starts, dude is a good striker. Dude's got power, good boxing combinations, decent movement, and he's durable as heck. If you get into a slugfest with this guy, you're probably losing. Problem is, can't defend a takedown. So, a hard one to call. Here's the deal. I've gone back and forth on this one, but I was looking back through my past notes because how this works, how I take notes. I take all my notes or whatever pre-fight, and then while I'm watching the fight, I'm sitting there with my notebook, and then in the margins of the notes, I will write down additional notes on the current fight that I'm watching from the fight notes that I had before. So like in the margins, I'll write them in a different color. And then I'll go over that stuff. And I remember at the end of the fight with Walker and Breshke, I put a little asterisk because usually I put it on either side. And I just said, close split decision, fade both going forward. So I'm going to trust my gut on that one, and I'm going to take Tafa. But I have no confidence in this whatsoever. Like, stay away from this fight. I didn't even want to have to make a pick on this fight. This is such a hard one to call for the reasons that I've laid out in this video. So hopefully you guys understand what I'm saying there. Hopefully you agree with me on that one. But let me know in the comments if you think that there's a clear side, and I would love to hear your opinion, and maybe you can sway me, because this is one that I could definitely be swayed. So you guys, welterweights, we have the return of Jingliang. He's taken on the surging Carlos Prates. Prates is 5-0 in his last 5 fights, and Jingliang probably should be 3-2, but he's 2-3. We all know that Daniel Rodriguez fight was a little sketchy. But for Jingliang, he's coming off of some gnarly back surgery, and that could be a problem for him because, I mean, he's taken like 2 years off. Back surgeries are nothing to screw around with, so I don't know how he's going to look coming off of that back surgery. So that's something that we got to take into account when we look at this fight, right? But to take a look at just the nuts and bolts, the skill set, we got Carlos Prates. He's a good striker, tons of power. He's got long rangey straights. The guy's got a freakishly long wingspan for someone his height. And he's got powerful kicks to all levels. He likes to go to the body with the front kick or the teep, and he likes to go to the legs and the head with the roundhouse kick. So for Prates, those kicks are going to be deadly. He can use those front kicks up the middle to keep the pressure of Lee off of him, because obviously Lee's got distance to close with the reach disadvantage. And if he can use those leg kicks, head kicks, things like that to just really try to land that power shot, that's what he's going to want to do here. Sure, he's got those long rangey straights, things like that. But the problem for Prates is his volume is incredibly low. So in comparison to most of his opponents. So he can often be losing fights until he's not. He's really moment dependent in a fight, and a lot of times it's that knockout. But he's going against a very durable opponent in Lee, or at least someone who was durable before the surgery. We don't know what he's going to look like here. But to be basing this solely off of what we've seen, Jingliang is the type of guy that's very durable. But Prates, that low volume could be a problem here for him, because he could be losing this fight every minute until he's not. You know what I mean? The style that he fights with is very much dependent on those moments. He also keeps his hands pretty low, and a lot of that's for the takedown defense, and also that he has such a long wingspan, so he can snap those punches out from a longer range. So he's not usually as in danger as much from punches coming back his way. He does have good takedown defense, like I mentioned, or at least pretty good. I do think he's going to have to stuff at least a couple in this fight, because Jingliang, although he's going to prefer to strike, will likely mix it up a little bit, especially if he feels some of the power coming back at him from Prates. Now, when we look at Jingliang, the guy's a good striker with plenty of power, and he's going to have a severe advantage in the volume. Jingliang does put out pretty good volume. He's got good combinations, but like I said, Prates just doesn't put out a ton of volume. Jingliang is very durable. The guy, we haven't really seen him get hurt. The guy can just keep coming at you, ton of power in the hands, and throw it back at you. So he can eat your shot and then give you one back. We haven't seen him eat a shot from a guy like Prates, who just seems to have deadly power. But then again, the guy's, like I said, he's been extremely durable, but he's coming off that back surgery. That could be the issue. I don't know. Decent grappling. He can mix in the takedowns, but like I said, he prefers to strike, but I do see him mix in one or two here just to kind of mix things up, and we keep Prates kind of on the toes. I have a hard time with this one because I want to say that, yes, you want to go with the momentum in Prates, the guy that's been around, that's been fighting regularly, tons of power, but I know he's going to be losing the fight most of the minutes, and that's a problem. And I could change this pick. I've gone back and forth. In fact, I actually recorded this video earlier. That's why I'm wearing a different shirt if you didn't notice. And I've recorded it. I've changed my pick 3-4 times today. But I think I'm going to go with Jingliang. And this could change based on the weigh-ins. And the reason I say that is because if Jingliang comes out on the weigh-ins and just doesn't quite look right, or if, we notice anything that maybe the surgery's he's not fully recovered and 100% after that, or like just anything, I could maybe switch this one because this one is tricky. But I'm going to take Jingliang. Massive underdog, but he's going to be winning the minutes, at least from my understanding, from what we've seen so far from both of their careers. So Jingliang's a pick. Let me know what you guys have in the comments, and I will see you. Heavyweights next. Tuivasa takes on Jairzinho Rozenstruk. Rozenstruk 2-3 in his last 5, 1-4 for Tuivasa. Both of these guys not having the best run in their career. However, Rozenstruk did get a nice bounce back win in his last one, so the momentum would have to be on his side. Let's start on his side when we break this down. We're going to break down pretty much the striking and clinching because, who's shooting takedowns out of these guys, right? For Jairzinho Rozenstruk, solid striker. He's got good power, good combinations when he decides to throw anyway. Heavy leg kicks. The power jab is probably the thing I like the best out of him because he can use that to keep opponents at range, but he sticks enough power in it that it's not just like a little probing jab where people are coming in there, bust up their nose a little bit. This one will snap your head back pretty hard. He does throw good counter striking ability as well. Once people start coming past that big power jab, they step in and then there's that check hook or whatever. So he does have the ability to do all this stuff, but the volume can be hit or miss. Sometimes it's pretty low. Most of the time it's actually pretty low. And something else that is weird about Jairzinho, I know he's got a really high-level kickboxing background, but he looks super off balance when he throws heavy. I don't know what's up with it. So for Jairzinho, he's got some upsides here, but if he doesn't put forth enough volume, a guy like Tuivasa can run him over because Tuivasa, good striker. I would say he probably doesn't have as much skill in the striking as maybe Jairzinho, but he sure hits just as hard, if not harder. He's got incredibly solid leg kicks, and not only that, but he comes forward very, very quickly because he's a fast starter. The clinch is where I think Tuivasa is going to have his best success if he does have success in this matchup. If he can get a hold of Jairzinho, push him up against the cage, and start landing those big, heavy elbows that he likes to throw, that's where Tuivasa is going to have more success. However, I've got to side with Jairzinho. A 4-fight skid for Tuivasa. The momentum's on Rozenstruk's side. I know Tuivasa's at home, but I could definitely see him losing this and just saying screw it and retiring, to be honest. I could see Tuivasa winning. I could definitely see him getting Jairzinho backed up against the cage, landing a big heavy elbow and putting him out. But I got to side with the guy with the momentum. The guy is probably going to stick that jab, slow things down a little bit, and probably drag this fight into the later second round, and that'll be the end of it. So we're taking Jairzinho Rozenstruk, and, I could be swayed, but you know what it is. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. A really exciting matchup here between Dan Hooker and Mateusz Gamrot in the lightweight division. Really quick, if you haven't done it already, for those of you still watching this video, maybe you've been enjoying yourself thus far, maybe you haven't, but if you have, hit that like button for me. It does go a long way in helping the channel. It doesn't cost you anything, but it does help me out quite a bit. So if you do that for me, I would greatly appreciate it. Let's break this one down. Dan Hooker, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, 4-1 on the Gamrot side. And also, when are they going to give Gamrot a title shot? I mean, this guy is 24-2 on his career. And, not that I think he wins. I don't think he wins. I think Islam destroys him, but that's not that's not the point. The point is, the dude probably deserves a title shot at this point, right? I mean, the guy was a backup fighter for the title at one point, didn't get the shot there. Even when the fight fell out, he still doesn't get the shot. But give the guy a title shot. I know that I know Islam's out for the rest of the year or whatever, but I mean, he has a win over the guy they're trying to. I mean, it was a bad win. It was a bad decision, but he has a win over the guy they're trying to give the title shot to. I mean, he's got to be next in line, right? I don't know. Either way. So let's break this one down. We got Dan Hooker. He's definitely the more dangerous fighter in this matchup. He's a solid striker with good forward pressure. He can counter strike moving forward or backwards. Good kicks, very accurate. He's got good knees up the middle. The leg kick particularly is something he's going to want to get to going in this matchup early on. He works the body extremely well, puts together all of his strikes in combination, and he establishes his jab early on. And that's something that you like to see from a guy, especially when you're going to try to use that length that he's going to have. He's going to try to keep this fight at range and out of the grappling range, because if he starts grappling with Mateusz Gamrot, I don't think it's going to go well for him. But if he can keep out of range, landing the jabs, working the leg kicks from range, start putting the combinations as he's starting to hurt him, that's what he needs to do here. He does have this nice ability to blitz to a finish. So what does that mean? If he senses the opponent is hurt, he's going to say, oh, time to get him, and then he blitzes in with just a barrage of strikes and uses that to get the finish. So Dan Hooker is incredibly skilled on the feet and incredibly dangerous on the feet, and he's also tougher than a $2 stake, so that is something you like to see. Guy broke his arm in his last matchup and continued to fight and then ended up winning the fight, so that's impressive. He's a good grappler as well. Now, he's going against somebody that's going to be a tough matchup in the grappling department, but he is a good grappler. He uses his length really well. He's got very good submission defense, and he has extremely dangerous ground and pound because he mixes in the elbows on top or bottom, and he mixes them in very well. And those elbows cut, and when you get cut, there is the risk of a doctor stoppage at any point. So for Dan Hooker, I think he can be dangerous on the mat, but I think striking is where he wants to keep this fight, and I don't think that's crazy to say. When I look at Mateusz Gamrot, dude's a solid wrestler. He's got very good takedown volume and the ability to mat return people pretty easily. But the problem is sometimes he does struggle to hold people down. Now, on the regional scene, we've seen pretty good ground and pound and actually use that a lot to set up submissions. But in the UFC, we haven't seen it as much. Now, he's done it a little bit, but a lot of it has been mat return. Just take guys down, control, do it, and as they get back up, take them back down. And just use that grappling pace. And that's okay because he has a high motor and good cardio, and he can do that for 15 minutes, no problem. He can do that for 25 minutes if he needs to, but for 15 minutes, no problem. But he doesn't do a ton of damage when he's doing this stuff. So I can see that being a problem for him against a guy like Dan Hooker. In the striking, it's improving, and it's pretty decent, right? He's got good striking, good boxing combinations. The leg kicks are pretty good. The wrestling threat does really help open up the hands. But his striking defense is still bad, but he is tough and durable. I would say maybe not Dan Hooker tough, but he is still very tough. Now, when we look at these two in this fight, I think most, if not all, of the finishing upside is on the Hooker side. But I think there's just going to be a ton of takedowns coming his way, and I think Gamrot's going to get it done by just constant takedown pressure, and I think that's going to be the problem for Dan Hooker. So I think Gamrot's going to win it on the scorecards. I could see Hooker taking a round off him, hitting him with a big elbow, cutting him open, dropping him with a knee as he shoots in for a takedown, something like that. But I do think Gamrot's going to get his hand raised at the end, probably a 29-28 decision. But let me know what you guys think. I appreciate you tuning in. We got a couple more fights left to break down. So we're looking at our flyweight co-main event of the evening, where Kai Kara-France takes on Steve Erceg. Erceg 4-1 in his last 5, 3-2 for the Kara-France side. This is a matchup that I think a lot of people are going to be split on, actually. I think it's a really tough matchup to call, but I think it's a fun matchup. And we got Steve Erceg over here with a good striker. He's got good straight punches, good volume, got a good leg kick. He started using combinations a whole lot more recently, and that's something you like to see. Striking defense leaves a lot to be desired still, though, but he is incredibly durable. He's able to eat these shots. He's able to take them and keep going forward, and he's able to just go back to that volume, that leg kicks, and just keep using what he's got to use in these fights. So for Steve Erceg, I do think he's going to be at a striking disadvantage here, but I think he can make up for some of that with his durability, at least at this point in his career still, and I think he can keep the pressure on. In the jiu-jitsu department, I think Steve Erceg has an advantage here because he is a very, very solid jiu-jitsu player. He does have a large toolbox. He can get on top and control opponents very well. And the thing I like to point out is his ability to attack the submissions. He attacks chokes in particular, but he's very good at just identifying, oh, target, go, shoot. And then he just goes for that submission just right there immediately when he finds that opening, and he jumps on it. That's important because he's going to have very limited time on the mat with Kai Kara-France if he is able to get the takedowns, because Kai Kara-France is a guy that has pretty good takedown defense in general, but when he does get taken down, bounces right back to his feet or fights to get back to his feet pretty quickly. So it's in those scrambles that I think Steve Erceg is going to need to take advantage if he wants to try to catch a submission. On the feet, I think it's close, but I think Kai Kara-France is the better striker. I think he's a solid striker. I think he's got faster hands. I think he's got good leg kicks. He's got probably a little bit more power, maybe close. I would say he's got more power, and then I think he's got better ability to move laterally, I would say. But Steve Erceg is going to have the height advantage, but the wingspan technically goes in the favor of Kai Kara-France. Now, that kind of is misleading because even though he has a bit of a reach advantage in the wingspan, the height is going to mitigate some of that wingspan and make it a lot harder for him to land on Erceg. So it's going to be interesting to see, and we'll find out really quickly in that first round who is actually going to be the person that can land further out. We might even be able to figure this out at the weigh-ins when they face off, things like that. But for me, this is a good one. It's a good, tough fight. I'm going to go with Erceg. I think he's going to be able to mix in the takedowns when he needs them. I think on the feet, he's going to be competitive, and I think that he's going to be able to land enough on the feet to make the grappling that he does engage in get him the win. So I'm going to go Steve Erceg. Both of these guys are local, essentially, right? Both of these guys are from that area of the world, so that's kind of interesting. So there's no like hometown favorite, really, most likely. But yeah, we're gonna go Erceg here. I think that I think his abilities have been improving rapidly between each fight, and I think I'm gonna side with him there as opposed to the guy coming off some injuries. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the main event. UFC 305's main event. Here we are, finally. Israel Adesanya takes on Dricus du Plessis for the middleweight championship of the world. Let me know in the comments. This is something I really want to know about from you guys. Do you think that this is the right matchup they should have made? Do you think that this is what it should have been? Or do you think that the Sean Strickland rematch should have been made? Personally, I think it's the Strickland rematch was the better option, just for the fact that Adesanya's coming back after getting absolutely run over. And feel like he should have had another fight first, but that's just me. I know a lot of people also think Whitaker, but the Whitaker buzz didn't really happen until after this fight was already made, right? So that you can't go that route. But then in addition to that, if you think that this is the right match to be made or that the other one was, what do you think is the best matchup for the winner of this matchup? Is it Strickland? Is it Whitaker? Is it Chimaev? What is it? What do you guys think? I'd love to hear from you in the comments. That's something I've been kind of wondering about from the community, and not just the stuff you see on Twitter, because you get a bunch of dumb stuff a lot of the time. So either way, let's break down this matchup. Israel Adesanya, he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. His only losses are in title fights to the highest of high-level competition. The guy has only 3 losses in his entire career. So, and one of those is up a weight class at light heavyweight. So you can't really fault him there. Absolutely impressive resume. It's just the last fight that we saw, he didn't look his best. And I don't know if that was because of him or his opponent, who absolutely looked fantastic in his last matchup, where Adesanya maybe took 1 round in that fight, but it was arguable. So on the other side, Dricus du Plessis, guy's 5-0 in his last 5 fights, only 2 losses in his career, only 2, and it's a pretty long career, right? 21 wins, 2 losses. That is a lot of fights. Now, when we break down them skill for skill, it's one guy who is a little bit more well-rounded and one who just kind of sold out all their stats into one side of the skill tree. When we look at Israel Adesanya, world-class striking. We know that he is a world-class striker. If it was just a striking matchup, you've got to say, yeah, Adesanya probably can beat du Plessis. But there's more to it than that, right? He is very elusive on the feet. He's incredibly good at controlling range, and he's going to have to use that here because that is what he failed to do in his last matchup. If he can get back to controlling range, that's where he's going to have success in this fight. He's got incredibly good kicks. The teep kick up the middle is going to help control range. Strickland used it to quite a bit of success against du Plessis. He's got a good leg kick, and he can circle off with that. After you establish the leg kick, you've got the question mark kick. Because after you establish the leg kick over and over, you fake that leg kick, and then you snap that up to the head. It takes a lot of dexterity to do that. Adesanya does a great job at it. He's incredibly accurate, and he has really fast reaction time to strikes. Even when he does get caught with a punch, he reacts quickly, and he's typically able to not only just see the punch coming, but then either roll with it or get a hand up and block it. And he needs that because he does often keep his hands low. So keeping the mind sharp, the reaction time, it does help him quite a bit. He does like to counter as he circles off. Now, I know a lot of people will say he doesn't really counter strike. He doesn't in the same way that a lot of people do like a pole counter and come back. He'll do that a little bit, but a lot of times it's circle off, jab, kick, circle off, jab, kick, and he'll do that. And that's still a counter because you're circling out of the way of a punch and doing what you need to do. So I'm going to still call that a counter. And he does still have some of those standard kind of pole counters or slip and counter. He just doesn't do it as often, right? Can fight out either stance, and he does a good job of cutting off the cage when he's the one going forward, but we don't see that as much anymore. Good takedown defense. He's got an excellent sprawl. He has the ability to reverse takedowns even. As guys shoot in, he'll often get that underhook and then one over and then just rotate them and drop them to their backs. But when he is taken down, he likes to threaten with submissions and use that to create some space so that he can fight his way back to his feet or even to the cage and start working up from there. All in all, world-class striking on the side of Adesanya. Takedown defense, he's really kind of invested in that as well. But on the mat, he's going to be at a disadvantage here. But we look at Dricus du Plessis. He's not a slouch on the feet as well. He's a very solid striker. Good forward pressure. I think he's going to be the harder person to back up here. So I think it's going to be du Plessis going forward in this matchup. He's got good volume. He's got tons of power. He's going to strike in flurries. What do I mean by that? So like as he's coming forward, he'll just pop, 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 and then set back in and maybe throw one or two here and there, and then pop, 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 pop. Just go with the flurry of strikes. Puts together combinations as well. They're not always just like a quick flurry. Sometimes he'll put together like a crisp combo, like a 2-3 type of thing, go into whatever he needs to do. He's also tough as heck. Guy's eating some shots and just able to keep coming. We've seen him get hit. We've seen him take him clean on the chin, and he still keeps coming. So the durability is there for du Plessis. Solid grappling. And I think that is something that if he can start implementing the grappling, he's going to be able to use that to really open up the striking as well. Because if the grappling threat is real, Israel is going to have trouble. That was stupid. Adesanya is going to have some trouble being able to land confidently on the feet without having to worry about the threat of the takedown. But if du Plessis goes out there and starts shooting takedowns early and getting stuffed just left and right, Adesanya's going to start opening up on him and really starting to piece him up, because I do think that the mix of the martial arts is what du Plessis needs to do to win this fight. He does have powerful takedowns. He's got heavy ground and pound. If he ends up on bottom, maybe off a reverse takedown, he's got good sweeps. And something else I really like about him is his front choke arsenal. A lot of times, people don't see this, but on the regional scene, and he hasn't really used it a ton in the UFC, to be honest, but on the regional scene, we saw this guy go to his front chokes, like his anacondas, his darces, and things like that, and just try to snatch up the neck as guys kind of come in on him and shoot a takedown on him, or in those scrambles where he can snatch up a neck and do what he needs to do there. I think du Plessis has the grappling edge, but he just needs to be able to secure that takedown, and the sprawl of Adesanya is going to make it tough unless he can get him up against the cage and start working takedowns from there. He does have a really good pace and a good killer instinct. When he senses someone is hurt, he is good at identifying, oh, they are hurt, and I need to get the kill now. And he does a good job at identifying that and then following through on finish the opponent. We've seen him finish most of his fights, not just at the UFC level, but in his career. So du Plessis is a finisher. In this matchup, here's the thing. I struggle to see how in a pure kickboxing fight, du Plessis beats Adesanya, but I struggle to see how in an MMA fight where du Plessis is able to mix his martial arts, that Adesanya can keep this man off him. So I'm going to go with Dricus du Plessis in an MMA fight to get this done and retain his championship. He has all of the momentum. Adesanya's coming off of a big layoff, and in his last matchup, he was beaten and broken. How is his mental state coming into this one? I also just can't deny that du Plessis just knows how to win fights. This guy gets it done every single time out, and I'm taking Dricus du Plessis to be the middleweight champion at the end of the night this Saturday night. Thanks, you guys, for tuning in. I appreciate you guys so much. Like the video on your way out if you haven't already. In fact, share this with a friend, somebody that also is going to be watching the fights. It is great when you guys do that. Thank you so much, and I will see you for the Contender Series breakdowns coming up very soon.